All right. Some recognition. So these are the new coaches. Okay, so these are the coaches that enrolled more than one coach during the week of November 5th through the 11th. So we got Tammy Hattie with 2, Morgan Brakenberry with 2, Emily Jones with 2, Caroline Nathan with 2, and Amy Riehlman with 3. Okay, so these are the top 20 coaches that created the most personal volume points during the week of November 5th through the 11th. Okay, so over 270, we got Jenna Castor, Maria Vella, Lindsay Payor, Casey Beard, Ali Pendich, Jeanette Chacon, Amy Riehlman, Jennifer Edwards, Morgan Brakenberry. Over 300, we got Kimberly Ballock, Jill Wagner, Jennifer Powell, Andrea Wallace, myself, Kim Kenny, Alyssa Sardelli. Over 400, we got Nicoletta Sidowitz and Peter Riehlman and Candace Travis. And at the top, with an outstanding 945 volume points, Caroline Nathan. Killed it that week. Okay, so these are the coaches that have hit Success Club 5. They have 5 points so far. Lauren Deal, Brittany Dimmick, Rhiannon Wendlot, Allison Harrode. Again, like if I mess these names up, please send me a Facebook message. I want to get these right. Shauna Valenta, Marissa Morell, Jill Lavati, Lindsay Gasser, Kristen Stapp, Rachel Cothron, Kelly Escrivanage. She told me how to say this. I don't remember. Carvage. Hope that was a little bit closer. Sarah Olinsky, Reve Chantel, Beth Baker, Maurice Sardelli. And then with 7, we got Tammy Haiti and Chris Bachlet. With 8, we got Natalie Dugas, Emily Jones, Denise Brown, Tripp Knowles, Andrea Wallace, Pete Riehlman. With 9, we got Allison Squires. With 10, we got Sarah Chenin. With 13, we got Caroline Nathan. And with 15, we got Amy Riehlman. Okay. I actually saw a really good post that Amy posted today about her 15 Success Club points and where those 15 points came from. Amy, do you mind sharing where those 15 points came from? I think that was a really great post.
Yeah. If I can find it. I guess I can say it off of the top of my head too. So yeah, I feel like some people get discouraged if they don't hit Success Club or they're not hitting it as fast, but I broke it down. I had 8 people, so one of them was just Shakeology, but 6 of them I've been talking to for 5 to 9 months. So I went back and looked through it. Also, those 3 coaches that I enrolled this week, all I had been talking to for at least 6 months. One of them I went, and then another challenge pack was someone I went to college with. We weren't really that great of friends or anything, and I actually never reached out to her, and she never has reached out to me, but she's been following me, obviously, for the past 2.5 years, so it took her that long to reach out to me. And then one was just very lucky. I friended her on Facebook. She liked one of my posts. I reached out to her and asked her if she wanted to join. She ordered 3 days later, loved the challenge, and then became a coach. So, like, that was the only one that was like wham, bam. But for the majority, all of them were at least 5 months, and that's how my months usually are. So what I'm doing right now probably will benefit me in February, March, April.
That's great. Yeah. So usually when I do these, when I'm a guest speaker on a team call, They think it's great because they've never seen me before, and everything I say is kind of new to them. And they're like, oh my God, that's amazing. You guys are going to be like, this dude says the same stuff every week. But kind of playing off what Amy said, that's like the first thing I always start with on the team calls when I'm doing a guest speaker thing. It's like, the key to this business is consistency over time, just like Amy said. And I'm always trying to figure out how come some coaches are consistent and some aren't. And what I found is there's two things they have in common. Number one is their why. They have something that's fueling them on the days they don't feel like helping people, right? So everyone, raise your hand if you have a why list. So when we first start as coaches, we just want to help people, right? You have to have a genuine love for helping people to have success with this business. But you got to have a part of your why that's personal to you and your family and your family's future. So who has things on their why list that are personal to them? Steve Adams, do you? So I want them to, like, if they don't have that written down, I have them like pull out a sheet of paper right there on the call. Because if you don't have that, like most people, when you're talking to a coach, the only time they think about their why is when you ask them and they say something cool and then they forget about it. You got to write this stuff down and you got to put it somewhere you see it every day, because you're going to have days, like I said, that you don't feel like helping people and inviting and doing your workouts and reading personal development. That's when you look at your list and leave some blank space to add stuff to it, right? I have my coaches add everything from the small to the big. From, like, I use Sarah Chenon's example. She has on the bottom of her why list being able to afford the soft, expensive photo paper, right? All the way to the big stuff and everything in between. People get in the mindset of looking at what other people have or trips people are going on, and they say, that looks so cool. And that's all they say, that looks so cool. And then they're in this mindset of they can't do that, though, because of whatever reason. I want to get my coaches out of the mindset of saying, that would be so cool. I want them to get in the mindset of, I can't do that right now, but I'm going to add it to my list, and I'm going to let that fuel me so that I can eventually do those things and provide those things for my family. No more saying that would be great. Add it to your list, let it fuel you. So that why list is the first thing I'm always talking to people about, and having them create that list and adding to it every day, right? Second thing I talk about, belief. If you have a great why and you have this amazing why list, but you don't really believe that the things we're telling you to do every day are actually going to help you achieve those things on your why list, you're not going to do those things. And the way I help coaches believe in this business is reverse engineering it. I'm a big picture guy. I got to know what I'm shooting for long term in order for me to stay on track. And this business, if someone asks me, how do I create a six-figure income with this business? How do I impact the most amount of lives? It comes down to finding and developing those 2 or 3 rock star leaders. That's how you do it. If you can find 2 or 3 people that want to do this as much as you, that are as serious about making this a full-time thing for some, are as serious about helping other people, are as serious about hitting everything on that why list and have that long-term mindset like you, if you can find 2 or 3 people like that, that's all it takes in this business. Honestly. I think a lot of coaches, they come in and they think that the key is to sell 1 million things. And then they think, okay, now I see the real income comes from building a team of coaches. So they think they got to sign 1 million coaches. And they sign a coach and they get excited they signed a coach, and then they go off and try to sign another coach. And they just try to sign as many coaches as they can. The key to this business, the key that's going to help you knock everything off that why list, is finding those 2 or 3 people that get it. Those 2 or 3 people that are all in as much as you. And that's what it comes down to. And that's like the mindset you got to have, that not just a belief that it's inevitable that you're going to find those 2 or 3 people, but you just know it in your gut. It's only a matter of time. So when I'm talking to people, they can tell I'm not like desperate for them to do a thing. Even when I wasn't even like doing great with the business. Is that my computer? that me? No. Let's stop that.
Don't friggin' bite. Watch your mouth. You sound like an idiot.
Oh, man. I don't know how to mute. I can't find who that is. Oh. Did I get it? All right. Yeah, biting's bad. That's what I talk about too. Okay, so once I kind of talk to them about that's kind of that's the big picture. That's where you're going to start to like really impact the most amount of lives. That's where you're going to start to knock everything off your why list. Once you find that first person that really wants to do this with you, that's when you start to see the momentum in this business. So what I talk to them about though is the mindset you got to have to find those 2 or 3 good people. Those 2 or 3 good people that you need to run this thing that are going to be the killer coaches, they're going to be smart people. And smart people very rarely jump into something. So your 2 or 3 good people that you want to do this with you, they are going to have to watch you for probably, like Amy said, 5 months or more, probably more like 12. That's just how it works. And then when they do get on board, it's going to take them 6 months or so to get their momentum, to get their people on board. So the best way for you to get your people on board, for them to get on board, like I said, they have to watch you. They are going to watch you to see, is this thing real? Is this person serious about this? Are they in this long term? Is this business for real? And the way you prove that to them is by being consistent with this thing for 6 months to a year. That's how you prove it. And then they get on board. And then when they do get on board, like I said, that takes 6 to 12 months of them doing this so they can show their people that this is real. So this is really like a 12 to 24 month business model. But man, oh man, the coaches that stick around for that amount of time and they show up and are consistent for that amount of time, this thing explodes. But that's how it works. So that's the first thing I'm talking to people about. You got to have that why, and you got to have the belief. And then I talked to, we got to do this for a while before those people are get on board. So any questions about that part of it so far? I want to make this more of like an informal thing. You guys can like ask questions, and then I'll kind of go through my bullet points. Let me check the chat. We got like 10 people here. Chat. 99% of people make me wait. It's all. Okay. Nothing there. All right. One thing that people love to hear on these calls, I'm sure you guys have heard this over and over again, but I'll say it again because I'm a visual learner and I know some of you guys are too. The best way I can explain this business to people is it's like trying to run up an escalator that's going down. I'm sure you guys have heard me say that. You guys are rolling your eyes. But it's so true. When you get into this business, you're running full speed up an escalator that's going down. So when you get into this, even though you're running full speed, your business isn't moving as fast as you want it to because you're going uphill and this thing's going down. And what happens when people are running really fast and they're not going as fast as they want? Their business isn't growing as fast as they want. They get discouraged and they stop, right? And all those people that were watching you for those 6 to 12 months, they see you stop and they go, guess this thing wasn't real. Guess they're not serious. And you go all the way back to the bottom. And all those people that were watching you, you lost them. And I did that to myself. When I started this business, I did that to myself over and over again. I'd get excited after an event or a call or whatever it was, and I'd get on the escalator and I'd be inviting and I'd be running with this thing. And I would get about 6 months into this, and I'd have all these people that were watching just about ready to do a challenge group or do the coaching, and I'd get discouraged because my business wasn't going as fast as I wanted or whatever reason, life got in the way, and I'd stop. And they'd all see that. And even I had some coaches that had joined me, and they saw me stop. And when they saw me stop and go backwards, what happens when you stop on an escalator that's going down? You go backwards. And the coaches that were on that escalator with me, they saw that. And they were like, where are you going, dude? You're not doing this anymore? Why should I? And they stopped. And they went all the way back down. Don't do that to yourself. It's just, you just got to understand that how this business works. I'm looking at a lot of you guys right now, and I can see some of you that are at the top of this escalator. You've been planting the seeds. You have these people that are ready to explode this thing with you, and you know it too. And then I'm looking at some of the other faces, and I see some of you guys that have been on this escalator for a while, and I know what that feels like. I was there. I got on that thing and I went down to the bottom over and over. It wasn't until I got back on that thing and I said, I am not getting off this freaking escalator until I find 2 or 3 people that want to do this with me. And it's not even a belief that it's going to happen. I know it will, because this thing is too good of an opportunity. If I share a good idea long enough, it's going to find good people. I just knew it. And when you have that type of mentality, when you're talking to people, they look at you as not someone that's desperate for them to join. They look at you as someone that's going to be successful with or without you. And they can either join you and have success with this thing or get left behind and watch. But you got to have that type of mentality. Cool? Who's on the escalator? All right. Next thing on the list. The thing that they always want me to talk about, and you guys already know a lot of this stuff, is how I get what I do in my challenge groups to give my people really great experiences. I can go into more detail if we have time at the end, if you guys have like specific questions on what I post and what I do in my challenge groups. But honestly, I feel like that's kind of like the foundation of my business, is the experience I give people in my challenge groups. And I've had coaches that have signed up that didn't do a challenge group, and you know they do well. But the majority of my coaches came out of challenge groups, and the reason I think that giving people a great experience in your challenge groups is the foundation of this business is a number of reasons. Number one, who cares about commission? When you're talking to people, when I'm talking to people about my challenge groups, they know that I could care less about their $40 or $50 commission. I just don't care about it. I want to get them in a challenge group and give them an amazing experience, because I know big picture, like we talked about, that belief. I know big picture, that really what moves this business forward are those great coaches, right? I don't care about $40 or $50 commission. I'm not too concerned with that. I just want to get them in the group. So if that means I got to give them an Amazon gift card so that they'll order the challenge pack, I'll do it, right? But when I'm talking to people, they can tell that my job isn't to sell challenge packs. They can tell that my job starts once they get in the challenge group. That's when I get to work. And when you have that type of mentality, when you love to run challenge groups and give people great experiences, you're going to get more people that want to join your challenge groups. You're going to hit Success Club more often. And if you give your people great experiences in challenge groups, they're going to be more likely to want to give that experience to other people by becoming a coach. Just how it works. And if they do become a coach, they're going to be a more successful coach. Because if you give them a great experience and they have that belief in what we do as coaches and a belief in the products, when they talk to people about their challenge groups, people are going to respond to them because they really believe in what they're talking about. And when those people do respond and get into their challenge groups, they're going to give their people the same experience you gave them. So the better experience you give your clients, the better coaches they're going to make. Just kind of how it works. So that, I believe, is the foundation of my business, at least. That's how I build it. That's what I focus on. Okay. Next thing I talk about, short-term sacrifices, right? When you start this business, you're all busy, right? We all got busy lives. We all got full plates. And we're asking you, when you start this business, you're asking yourself to add one more thing to your plate. You're asking yourself to make your busy life even busier, right? And that seems like a tall task. The alternative to making your life busier and to adding one more thing to your plate is to not add one more thing to your plate and let 2 years go by and be in the same place you are today. And I'll tell you what, like, I didn't hate my job. I liked my job. I enjoyed it. So I wasn't like desperate to make this thing work when I first started, until I started to really see what this thing could do and the potential that it had. Then I got to a point where the pain of adding one more thing to my plate, the pain of being consistent with this thing wasn't as bad, anywhere near as bad as the pain of the regret I started to have of not being consistent with this thing. And the reason was because I started to go to these live events and I started to see people that started this thing after I did. And when I was going up the escalator excited for 3 months and then stopping and then going back down, they got on the escalator after I had started and just stayed consistent for a full year and blew this thing out of the water. And it pissed me off. And I started to regret the fact that I wasn't consistent. And I wasn't consistent for my first 3 years of this thing. And my business didn't really go too far because of it. I just was going up and down this little escalator. But all of a sudden, that pain of that regret of me not doing this and seeing all this freedom that people had created and really doing something that they loved, that was impacting people's lives. And I had that same opportunity to do that, and I wasn't taking advantage of it. That regret became so strong that the pain of doing the little things I needed to do every day and staying on that escalator for a full year, that pain seemed like nothing. So you got to get to that point, though. And for me, that came from surrounding myself with people that were successful with this thing and seeing the life that they were able to create and the impact that they had. That's why I think it's so important to connect with as many coaches as you can on this team and other teams as well and watch them. That fueled me more than anything. I never compared myself to them. I never looked at them and said man, they're better than me. I can never do what they're doing, because I talked to them. I met them. They were just normal, down to earth people. The only difference between them and me was they were consistent with those little things every day, whether they felt like it or not. And I was just doing them when I felt like it. That was the only difference. All right. Something I used to always say, and I actually just kind of changed the way I say it. I used to say, don't treat this like a hobby. Treat it like a business. And now I say, don't treat this like a hobby. Treat it like a job. Because I don't think many people understand what it means to treat something like a business. But we all know what a job is like, right? When you have a job, you know what time you got to show up. You show up, you do the work you need to do, and you know when you're allowed to leave. And you schedule everything else in your life around that job. Everything. Appointments, when you got to pick your kids up, who's going to watch your kids when you're at work, all that stuff. Why is this any different? Treat this thing like a job. Set business hours that you need to show up to, just like a job, and schedule everything around it and show up and put in the work and leave when you're allowed to leave. Why would you do that with a job but not this? This has so much more potential than most jobs. So don't treat this thing like a hobby. Treat this like a job. And
I have a question. Sorry. Yeah. Is this your full-time job?
It is now, yeah. It is now, yeah. When I first started, my full-time job was accounting.
That's my job.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I was an accountant. And, I was working 50 hours a week. And like I said, I messed around with this thing. I didn't really I treated it like a hobby. And I did it when I felt like it and not when I didn't. And it wasn't until I started to have that regret and I saw this potential that this thing had that I decided, okay, I'm going to show up to this thing every day like a job. Because you show up to your job whether you feel like it or not, right? And that was I got in that same mindset. I just decided I'm going to show up to this. Even if I'm tired from my real job, I'm still going to make time for this. If that means I'm not going to watch TV, I'm not going to watch TV. That means I got to quit the kickball league, dodgeball, softball,
So realistically, how many hours did you put in when you first started?
When I first started, at least I was putting in an hour or 2 hours a day. And then on the weekends, even more. When I was just treating it like a hobby, when I decided this was like something I wanted to really do, I was probably putting in like 20 hours a week on top of my full-time job. So I was working, 50 hours a week, and then I'd put another 20 on top. So, but I knew to me, it was like, it was inevitable that I was eventually, if I did that, I was going to find those 2 or 3 people that wanted to do this with me, that were going to go all in. And I knew once I did, it would be worth all those short-term sacrifices. It would be worth it long-term, because I saw what this was and I really believed in it and I wanted to be a part of it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Got it. Accountants make good Beachbody coaches, I think. So we're like good at like sitting down.
I'm actually an area controller, so I'm over a bunch of like accountants and managers and stuff, but it's fun. I like it.
Nice. Yeah, I liked it. I didn't hate accounting. I just wanted to be my own boss.
No, for sure.
Yeah. But I'll tell you that the accounting background was huge for me. I used that. I worked for PricewaterhouseCoopers for 5 years.
When you say a lot of things, you remind me of a lot of myself, because I look at the big picture of things too, and I'm a goal-driven and oriented person. So.
And yeah, I can't if someone tells me these are the things you need to do every day as a coach, that's great. But I need to know why, and I need to see the big picture. So that's what I try to get my coaches. The easy part for me is to show my coaches what they need to do every day, right? Like there's 4 things in this business that you need to be good at. If you get those things down, you're going to kill it. You're going to do well, right? Number 1, finding people and connecting with them, building those relationships. Number 2, inviting them to your challenge groups. Number 3, giving them a great experience in your challenge group. And number 4, introducing them to the coaching opportunity. That's it. If you can get those 4 things down and then help your coaches get comfortable with those 4 things, you're good. You're going to rock this thing. But if you don't have the why, the reason for doing it, and you don't have the belief, the big picture, you're not going to do those 4 things. You're not going to do what it takes to get good at those things and get comfortable with them. So I always want to start with the why and the belief first, and then work on the skills, those 4 things. Those 4 things, honestly, that's the easy part for me to teach my coaches, to get comfortable with the inviting, to get comfortable with how to connect and find people, to get comfortable with how to give people a great experience, to get comfortable with introducing people to coaching opportunity. There's a learning curve there, but you can get good at those things. Anybody can. You can always get better. Trust me. I know that. But you can get comfortable and confident with those to the point where you can also get your coaches comfortable with that and teach your coaches how to do that. That's the easy part. The hard part is getting coaches to have that why and that belief, that long-term mindset. Because this isn't a get-rich-quick thing. This isn't an overnight business. This is a business where you got to get on the escalator and stay on it when you're not going as fast as you want. And let people watch you for a year before they're ready to get on board. And you got to know that's how this thing works. So that's where I spend most of my time with my coaches, is the why and the belief. Those other 4 parts, the skills, we'll nail those down too. But we got to start with the big picture. And then they're going to be more willing to put in the work to get good at those other 4 things. Make sense? Cool. All right. Okay, back to treating this thing like a job. When you do set those business hours, it's really important that you have a to-do list. So when you do show up to your job, your boss tells you what you need to do. You're very clear on what you have to get done every day at your job. So get clear on what you need to get done on this job too. So when you do have those set business hours and you show up, have a to-do list with the most important things at the top. The things that are going to move your business forward more than anything that you usually probably put off because they're probably the things you might not look forward to. Put them at the top, knock those out first. If you struggle with time management, with setting aside business hours or your job hours and creating a to-do list and knocking things out, you got to read Eat That Frog. That book's is going to help you in all those aspects.
Pat, can I say something about the to-do list?
Sure.
So on my to-do list yesterday was to go back and check all of my customer orders. So I have customers that have orders that are backlogged from November 9th or November 5th. And because of all the errors in shipping, they've changed locations of the warehouse they ship out of. So some of the orders, they're held, but they've made some accommodations. So one guy, his Shakeology wasn't going to get there for another week and a half. So they're actually sending me a sampler so that I can give it to him. This guy's local. So, you know, customers really get kind of ticked off if there's no product that gets delivered. And some of these are sitting at 3 weeks now. So I just kind of wanted to let everybody know that, you know, look at your customers' orders. And if you've got customers' orders sitting there from November 5th, November 9th, also Energize is back ordered. So they won't ship an order partially. So that's just kind of what I learned over the weekend.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Let's we'll talk more about that towards the end, but that's a good point to bring up. Next thing I usually like to talk to people about is that all this stuff I'm talking about, the mindset, creating the to-do list, those 4 skills, the finding and connecting with people, the inviting, the great experience, the introducing to coaching, all this stuff I've talked about. I talk about it like I know it. Well, I guess I know it now, but what I'll tell you is I sucked at all of it. I was terrible at all of it. I wasn't confident with any of it. And I don't know why, but at some point as we get older into adulthood, if we do something that we're not good at, we don't ever do it again. When you do something for the first time you've never done before, like start a business, like those 4 skills we talked about, like trying to create a to-do list, anything you've never done before, you're not going to be good. It's just how it works. But the more you do it, the better you get. I mean, this stuff that we do, it's not like overly complicated stuff, but there's a learning curve to it. That, for me, like, when a new baby's learning to walk, he takes a step, he falls. He gets back up. He takes another step, falls, gets back up, takes 2. He doesn't take a step, fall, and then say, this walking thing's overrated. I think I'm going to crawl the rest of my life. That's the kind of mindset you got to have with this business. You got to understand that you're going to fail forward. You're not going to be great at a lot of this stuff. When I first started making little YouTube videos to put in my little challenge groups and post on Instagram and stuff, like I didn't know, I felt so uncomfortable making videos. It's terrible at it, you know? But I knew it was just like learning to walk. Like I'd get better at it. I didn't expect to be good. So anytime you're trying something new with this business, just expect to not be great and do it anyway and know you're going to get better the more you do it. You got to have that mindset. So I was terrible at all this stuff. And still I'm terrible at a lot of things too. But I just accept it. I just know that's how it is. But if I do it, I'll get better. Okay, another thing I talk about is like the importance of getting on team calls, the importance of getting on the national wake-up call, the importance of having a success partner or a group message. So think of like, this is what when I do these guests, when I'm like a guest speaker, I try to get all the coaches on the call to think of their business as like a piece of wood, like a stick or a log. And let's say like if your business is doing pretty well, you got a little bit of a flame on top, starting to grow a little bit, right? Then you come to a team call and everyone brings their log with a little bit of fire and you guys put your log in the middle and you all come together and it creates this wildfire. And everyone leaves that meeting with their log a little bit more on fire. But when you leave that meeting, you go out into the world, there's always like the elements. There's people that are hating on you, trying to pour cold water on your business, on your excitement, and your flame starts to go out a little bit. It gets windy out there in the real world, right? You got to come back to these team calls and bring your log with you and get back in here, put it back in, and get that fire. We're not going to do a team call next week because it's the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, but 2 weeks from today, our guest speaker is going to be David Atkins, who's an elite coach. And one of the things he always says to his team is stay close to the fire. That's his number one like motto with this business. Stay close to the heat. Stay close to the fire. It's just kind of how it works. And when I wasn't doing that, my business wasn't working because I would lose that fire. I'd go away from it, from the team calls, from everyone that was working the business. I'd lose that passion. I'd lose that fire. When I'd come back to the team calls, get on the national calls every week, it kept that fire ignited and growing. And I just build off of it. So it's so important to make those national calls a priority, make these team calls a priority, checking in with your coach, make that a priority. That's how you're going to continue to get that flame to grow and grow and grow. Okay, I talked about the 4 things that I think, like, if you get those 4 things down, you're going to rock that. We can talk more about that if you guys have questions about those 4 particular things. And then the last thing I'll say, which I think might be, more important than any of this, is how you protect the space between your ears, your brain, your mindset. Personal development. It always comes back to personal development. If you're not taking care of that space between your ears, it's going to get clogged up with garbage. You gotta make it a priority to do personal development every day. That's the first thing I do when I wake up. Every single day. That sets the tone for everything else. And that's my number one vital behavior. I know how Beachbody lists their vital behaviors: invite, be proof the products work, personal development. If I was in charge, it would be personal development, be proof the products work, invite. Because those first 2, the personal development and be proof the products work, that lays the foundation for the business. The inviting gets so much easier if you're doing your personal development and you're being proof the products work. Those 2 things are how I would start every day if you can. Get your workout in, get your personal development in. It's going to set the tone. That's all I got. So we got like 18 minutes left. Anybody have any questions about anything that I talked about, or just anything in particular, or any thoughts that they want to share? Go for it.
I do. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm Pat's old art. He's my coach, and Trip is my first coach I got that is just awesome, that made Diamond like incredibly soon. I just want to say, for the ones that are doubting out there, that are skeptical or almost halfway like, this is stupid, or I can't do this. And I'm still wondering if it's for me, but the elevator thing is so true, because I took a huge break from it. I was doing really well, and then I took a big break. And now from the time that I left to where I'm at now, I have no idea what's going on. Like the online stuff is totally new. Everything is totally new. So I'm having to not only learn that, but just everything before that was hard for me. But now this is really hard. And then the social media, like having to catch up there. So don't ever doubt yourself. What Beachbody tells you with keep going and keep going and keep going is totally true, because now I have to catch up and redo it again and again and again, over and over again, if I want to get back to where I was and then some. Also, what's made me even come back more was I continued to take Beachbody products because I do believe in them, and I've always done it. I guess I was one of those people that I got the no's, or I wasn't getting enough feedback, that I just was like, screw this. I wasn't going to do it because I'm that kind of person. I don't like negativity. I don't like anyone telling me no. Not like anyone does, but
I do.
Okay, other than the book, and yes, I have read that book. Go for no. But I heard a friend of mine the other day tell me, and it was at a class reunion, and she was like, she noticed that I hadn't taken it off my Facebook, that I was still an Emerald, and I still am, but she was like, oh, you're on Beachbody, it's so awesome. Aren't they such an awesome company? And I was thinking, well, yeah, they are, but I felt so bad for saying that because I haven't been working it. I've been taking the products, I take the performance line, but I don't really work it. So I guess my point is, to all you guys that are just getting in, or that are in the middle of it, or having a struggle, or are struggling, don't give up, because you are going to be going through a struggle. Not that it's not worth the struggle if you do it, but that escalator thing is true. It's rough, and you're going to be going back up it. I mean, Trip is my first guy I signed, and I actually remember Patrick saying, are you sure this guy is going to do good? And, he was a little skeptical, and he's like, Gina, don't be upset. This is your first coach you're signing. He might not do that well. And
I never said that.
oh, yeah, you did. And it wasn't a bad thing. You were just preparing me for what happens. Some people just don't work out. And Trip was like, I couldn't even tell him. By the time I told him the steps to take, he had already done them. It was like, oh, already done every time I told him. So he was easy, but not everybody is like that. Sometimes you have to hold their hand, but it's worth it. And I'm working my way back into it because my friend just brought me back into it. And like I said, I believe in the products. I take them continuously. I gave up on the business, and it's just now so much harder. So if you're already at a point where you are even have one or two people, don't leave it at that. That's good. That's progress. Keep going, because I don't even have that right now. You have to get back into it, and that's what I'm working on, and it sucks. It's hard. You've got to want it. You've got to have that taste in your mouth. And so I just want to say that.
So you're basically saying stay on the escalator.
Yeah. I mean, I've been with Beachbody I've been doing Beachbody for like 9 years. I've been a coach for 3 years now.
I think you've been a coach I think you signed up last October, right?
Yeah. But I've been doing Beachbody for a long time, and I believed in their products for a long time, and I still do. And it's just, don't give up, because you're going to be, if you do, and if you take that time off, you're going to be fighting it back. I'm not saying.
Yeah. I did that. I'm telling you, I did the same thing, Gina.
And I remember your story. That's why I'm so that hell bent on doing it, because I remember your story you told me, and I'm a lot like you. So
I feel your pain. Everyone has 2 start dates in this business. There's 2 dates you're going to remember. It's the date you signed up, and it's the date you decided to go all in and not take any more breaks. And the smaller the gap in time between those 2 periods, the better. For me, it was 3 years. Which I regret that time, but that's okay. It took me that amount of time to really regret not doing this enough to the point where I was like, all right, enough of just hanging out on this escalator, enough of watching these other people kill this thing. I know that I can do this too. This isn't a complicated business. Yeah, there's other things, and you might take a break and come back, and people are doing different things on social media, but you don't have to do what everyone else is doing. You just got to you got to be comfortable with those 4 things. If you can get comfortable with those 4 things, finding people, finding and connecting, starting conversations.
Yeah.
Just find like one avenue to find people, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook, suggested friends, whether it's Facebook groups, whatever it is. Just find one avenue you're comfortable with connecting and finding new people that you have common interests with, right? Number 2, get comfortable with inviting those people to join your challenge groups without focusing on selling. And number 3, just getting comfortable with running a good challenge group and giving them a great experience. Number 4, introduce them to coaching. But, and there's always going to be new things that coaches are doing. But if you can just focus on those things, you'll be fine. But you got to find your own way with those 4 things.
That's what's funny is now all of a sudden, all these people that I still run my group that you got me to run, our whole thing. And then all of a sudden there's this, and I still do all that. And now I'm working out in the gym. I still take my products and everything else. But now all of a sudden this girl is like, okay, I'm ready to do it. I'm ready to do the 21-day fix. And I haven't said anything about it, but I'm just constantly, every day we post our workouts, even if it's in the gym or not. And now all of a sudden she's ready to do it. And it's like, I haven't said anything about 21-day fix, but she wants to do it. Although my sister is like totally, she could be the poster child for every single thing in Beachbody. She almost wanted, actually, Tony Horton's sister asked to be her coach.
Wow.
And I was pissed because I was like, I'm your coach.
That's great. Cool. Yeah, I know
but
her.
Anyways,
I like her actually. Tony Horton's sister.
Well, I can't. I wasn't gonna be pissed if she did go with her.
But no, you gotta go. You gotta stick with family.
Yeah,
Jimmy,
but
I appreciate you sharing that and getting on here, and I'm glad you're back. Anybody else have any questions? We got 10 minutes left. Yeah. Anything they want to share? Any questions?
I think Alyssa has something.
Takeaway. I'll be really quick. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I'm on my phone. My kids have my iPad. But I just wanted to say too, make sure, my biggest takeaway from this whole thing is making sure that you don't compare yourself to others. The first year I really didn't do much with the business, but this past year I've just been full speed ahead. And I got to a point about 2 months ago where I got in this awful rut where I was like, really? I was like, oh my God, I'm doing, A, B, C, and D. And then I'm like, fail. And I just got in the rut, and then I had to realize that, it's gonna work. I have tunnel vision. I'm close to the fire. I'm planting the seeds. Any moment I could go from then I started thinking in my head, well, I could go from a 1-star to a 4, or next Wednesday I could be an emerald. What the heck, So, I just had to put that all aside and have my to-do list, stay close to the fire, stick to what you taught me in the very beginning. And I regained my focus and, don't let other people's success, be happy for them. And just because I'm very competitive just by nature, it's just me. And once you can't lose that, you just have to keep moving forward and have your tunnel vision. And like you said, stay close to the fire, and you guys are on fire. So we're where we need to be and just dive right in.
Yeah, that's awesome. There's definitely 2 ways to go about looking at people that are having success. Either let it frustrate you and deter you, or let it motivate you.
Yeah, and it does. Like you said, it can hurt so bad. When you said, you stop and then you see all this, and failure hurts so bad, even though you're failing forward, that can hurt too. You just have to realize that it's going to work out if you do what works, and it works.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome. Great takeaways. Anybody else have any questions or anything they wanted to share?
Can I say something real quick, Pat?
Yeah.
I think my biggest takeaway, as Pat said, there's a start date. I signed up in January 2014, but I didn't really actually start until October 27th of 2014, so several months later. But I think my biggest takeaway in the last few months is making sure that I don't know if Pat, if you disagree with me, but doing personal development in addition to business development. Because for a while I was like, oh, I'm doing all this personal development, and then I like listened to a national wake up call where they were like, podcasts are great and stuff like for your business, but that's not like when it's like Shalene Johnson, like Instagram help, that's not like personal development. And I think for months on end, I was really struggling until Pat whipped me into shape recently with doing personal development, because I thought I was doing it, but I wasn't. I was just doing like Instagram help or Facebook help or stuff like that. So really separating and making sure you're doing the business development, great, but really personal development. And if you're looking for a book, this book called Directing Your Destiny, I've been posting it everywhere, by Jennifer Grace. I really, 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 really love this book. So Pat recommended it to me, but I'm on my second time reading it. So just make sure you're doing personal development, not just business development.
Yeah.
The book called again?
Great.
It's called Directing Your Destiny by Jennifer Grace.
Jennifer Grace. So that actually, like, I haven't even read that book yet, but she's the girl that was at the Super Saturday in Miami that my parents went to, and Nikki and Jason Sidowitz. They like raved about her so much. And I went online and like I've looked at her website and watched some of her videos, and I was like really impressed too. I just kind of have like the same outlook on certain things that she had, so that's on my book list for sure.
Wait, you told me it would be such a great book for me. You didn't even read it?
Oh yeah, I know what it's about. I just haven't read it.
It's very good. I'm on the second time. You should read it.
Yeah. But I think that's true. You know, those 4 things we talked about, those 4 skills, like developing those, that's the business development. The why and the belief, protecting the space between your ears, that's the personal development. You know, I think those, you got to do both. But I think the personal development is probably even more important. In fact, it definitely is. Nice. Anybody else?
Pat, I have a question.
Yeah.
So how you were saying, like you focus on the why and the belief first when you have a new coach, and then you go to the skills after that. So if you have a coach who is really struggling with that why and belief first, and they're just more so like set on promoting the products, and they want to just do that part of it first, but they don't really have that why and belief, like how do you go about that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you focus more on like the why and the belief, personal development first, or do you kind of just let them do what they want to do?
Well, you know, first I want to know their why, like the reasons they're doing this, because everyone's the boss of their own company, right? Their own business. So depending on their why and their goals and when they want to achieve those goals, I'm probably going to coach them a little differently and push them and motivate them a little differently. If they don't really want to, if they're not have any interest in making any kind of income, then I don't push them too hard. I would just figure out like why they started a business. For anyone that says, I just want to help people, I don't have any financial goals, or I always ask them like, you gotta love to help people to be successful with this business, but you don't have to have a business to help people. So why is it that you started a business? I want to know what in their life, they can't get right now because they don't have enough time or enough money. And this business opportunity is a platform that gives you more time and income to do whatever you want to do with it. Everyone has a different idea of what a successful life looks like, but this platform gives you the opportunity to mold and create the kind of life you want. And I just kind of like, it just depends. I don't want to push them and like tell them they have to like have a bigger goal, a bigger why. I'm not their boss, like it's their business. But I do want to know like what are some areas of their life that they would, if they had more time and more money, they would be able to do, what they would do differently. So just ask them questions like that, like ask them, if would $100 a month make an impact on your family? You know, if you could earn an extra $100 a month, what kind of an impact would that have? What would that help towards? If they say, you know, my cell phone bill is $100, and say, okay, let's just focus on trying to get to that point where we can pay off your cell phone bill. And then once we get that, and you're paying for that every month with Beachbody, let's go to the next thing that we can help with. You know, just like kind of those stepping stone whys.
Okay.
Without like pushing too hard. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the question, like asking why they started a business, I think that's a good point.
For sure.
Thank you.
I think, you know, like you gotta get your coaches. Sometimes I think coaches for some reason are afraid to say that part of their why is to make an income. You know, everyone has bills. Everyone has like things they got to pay. Everyone has, you know, they want to do things for their family and their future. You know, you got to have that as part of your why. And if you don't, it's going to be very hard to be successful in this business. If the only part of your why is just helping people, then you're going to have a lot of days where you don't feel like helping people because you're not in the mood to, you know. You got to have another part of your why that's personal to you and your family and your family's future that's going to get you to do the things on the days you don't feel like it and make time on the days you don't have time. And that's a question I asked, you know, John Maxwell when I was in that circle with him in Denver. You know, I asked him that same question. I said, how can I talk to my coaches about being okay with having part of their why, their reason for doing this, be something that's personal to them, their family and their family's future? And he said, you have to. He said, if you want to be successful with a business, you got to have part of your why be about helping others, and part of your why has to be about you and your family and your family's future. Otherwise, it's probably not going to work. You can't have just one side to it. Can't, you know? So that's what I want to get my coaches to understand and be okay with, and start to add those things to their why list and put it somewhere they see it every day and continue to add to it, and get out of the mindset of, oh, that would be cool. And get in the mindset of, I can't do that right now, but I will eventually. I'm going to add it to my list and let it fuel me. But first, get them okay with having those two parts to their why, and letting them know that that's just the only way it's going to work. So hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Got it.
I have a question.
Yeah, I know. Also, it's 9:00, and if you guys got to take off, I appreciate you guys getting on here for a full hour. I know you guys are busy, so feel free to take off. I'm going to stick around and answer any questions that people have. And but the rest of you guys, I got to take off. Thanks for getting on. Sure. What was your question?
So I have family in the military, and I was on the phone with Beachbody today, trying to get the letters extended for them to become coaches and have their fees waived. How long is the process? And have you ever signed up anyone that was in the military?
Yeah, not in a while though. I don't think it was too long. I don't know if anyone knows like the exact answer to that.
Yeah, it doesn't take very long.
I am a veteran, and it took one day. All I had to do was fax them my DD-214, and they took care of it.
Okay. Awesome. So they need the DD-214. All right. So
Prove the military
they're still active,
service.
so they need their LES if they're active.
I think they just need a copy of their ID card.
A copy of their current orders is what they want.
All they need
Their
is
current orders.
214 or their ID.
Yeah, or their current orders.
So when I was talking to Beachbody today, I was on the phone with Coach Relations. They gave me the fax number and said that they need their LES, but when I I faxed them the LES, then I emailed it. No one ever got back to me.
I would speak to a different person if I were you. That's my personal thing.
Okay.
That's just my personal.
Because I was on the phone with them for quite a while, just trying to get it taken care of.
Just ask for a supervisor if you don't get like the right answers.
Yeah, or somebody else, because a DD-214 is the major thing, or your ID.
Well, the DD-214 is when you're already out of the military, but what
Yeah,
about
but
when you're active duty?
It doesn't matter. It still applies to its veterans or active duty.
Active duty.
Yeah, just shoot, like, Trip. Is it okay if she sends you a message, Trip or Peyton or Gina?
Yeah, send me a message. I have the email of the lady I talked to for a couple military people ago that I signed up, and because I had the same thing, I faxed it 3 times and nobody's getting back to me, so I literally had a lady standing at the fax machine, so I can give you her information.
Okay, awesome.
Awesome. Thanks. Anybody else have any questions?
Patrick, I got one question.
Yeah.
All right. I know that you're not concerned about the commission that you would make on the challenge pack with some of your customers. So what do? You give them the $40? That's the first part of the question.
Okay. I don't know how I'm supposed to answer that.
Honestly, that's all I'm asking.
Are we allowed to give people $40? Is that allowed?
Yeah, we are.
Technically, no. But I know that that's the technical answer. But what do you do?
No, we are allowed to give people, I don't know if it's 40, but I know you definitely can give $25 to people. You can give people gift cards towards.
Right, gift cards, but not cash.
No, you can give them gift cards. But.
Is that the answer you're going to give me, Patrick?
Yeah. I mean, I like the gift cards, like, is one way to do it. I do other stuff.
Okay. All right. That answers the first part. The second part is, what if that person were to return the empty bag in the package deal so that they got the gift card that you gave them plus their money back?
A business loss.
I would just kind of like chalk it up to a loss, I guess.
Okay. That was my question. I was concerned about that because I have somebody that may be like that.
Yeah.
That's a loss.
Thank you for your time, Patrick. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you got it. But yeah, I try to get people, like, if that's the only thing holding them back, if it's $140 and my commission's 40, I let them know that. I say, hey, like, it's 140. I make a $40 commission. I don't want your money, and we figure something out. Yeah.
Okay.
Anybody else? Anybody have questions or thoughts or anything they want to share?
I do, but I totally forgot.
Hey, Steve, what was I saw your chat about the quote. I saw that in here somewhere. Something about like a Michael Jordan quote.
Yeah, chocolate. Chris, your cousin Chris posted that. Let me find it. It'll take me 2 seconds. Great quote from Michael Jordan about how many times he failed. And I've missed more than 9,000 shots in my career. I've lost almost 300 games. 26 times I've been trusted to take the game-winning shot and missed. I've failed over and over and over again in my life, and that is why I succeed.
Awesome. Considering
What's in the slide
there. Awesome.
Right? Jordan. That's
Yeah.
funny. Like, I was looking at Darren Hardy, the Darren Daly today. You kind of like talked about millionaires and like successful business people and what they have in common. And it wasn't like their background or where they went to school or who their parents were. It was number one, they had in common was they were afraid when they first started. They were nervous because they had never done it before. The other thing was they failed a lot. And the third was they just never gave up. But they came from all walks of life, all different schooling, different parents, everything.
Okay.
It is. It's such a mindset game. That's why I think that probably the most important thing I could ever tell someone is like protect that space between your ears. If you do that right, everything else will fall into place. But it starts there. That little 4 inches. Is that what it is? Is it 4 inches between your ears?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. I think that's a good thing to end on. Michael Jordan. You can't end on anything better than Jordan, right?
That's true.
All right, guys. Thanks for getting on.
Thank you.
Boom on 3.
All right.
This would be a very quiet one because everyone's gone. 1,
Okay.
2, 3.
Boom.
Boom.